Hey everyone, this is Adam with PsychedelicInvest.com. Today I'm going to be doing a video on a small microcap biotech slash psychedelic company called IntelGenX. And I'm going to be going into their connection to ATAI, what that means to them, and basically why I really like IntelGenX generally. So first, I'm going to be just going into the IntelGenX's fourth quarter financial highlights, so we can get a good idea of where they are in terms of cash on hand, cash burn, so like how much of a runway they have, and then we'll just go from there. So this is from their most recent earnings report, which was, I want to say, about a month ago, or less than a month ago. It was very, very recent. So in terms of revenue, they had about 494,000 compared to 790,000 in the 2020 fourth quarter. Okay, so something to know about IntelGenX. Oh, let me just rewind a little bit and tell you a little bit about IntelGenX. So IntelGenX is essentially a oral film delivery biotech company. And what does that mean? It means they have this technology. If you guys have ever heard of Listerine strips, so it's the same inventor who made Listerine strips, but what they realize is they can put medication on these strips, and what the strips will do is they'll skip first pass digestion, which means they go right to your bloodstream. You don't need water to take them. The onset is much quicker since it skips first pass digestion. You can avoid patient compliance is much better because you can use lower dosages of specific medications to reach the same efficacy as you would on a pill, for example. And for specific medications, I'll be talking about this in regards to psychedelic stuff. Avoiding the stomach, it can be a big deal because it can help with, in terms of some like, for example, DMT. When ingested, it has to be mixed with MAO inhibitors. MAO inhibitors have a way of upsetting the stomach. So now, if you put DMT on a strip, which they're working on with ATAI Life Sciences, you avoid that problem altogether because it goes right to the bloodstream. So like these strips have a lot of advantages, and for non-psychedelic and psychedelic medications, it's my opinion that this is going to be like a partially disruptive technology. Who doesn't want faster acting medications that go right to your bloodstream? In my opinion, like it's just a more efficient way of taking a medication. They can also manipulate the how long for psychedelic stuff. They can manipulate how long the trip or the psychedelic experience lasts and stuff like that. There's really cool stuff they can do with it. So this is what IntelGenX does. They do this with all medications. They put it on a strip. And they have this patented technology of how they do it. So they manufacture and then they manufacture the strips, and their whole business model is partnering with other companies who already have FDA approval on specific medications. And they'll put them on the strip, make sure the strips can go through their own FDA process, which is less stringent than getting a new molecule FDA approved. Because since these are already FDA approved, they just have to prove that the strips themselves that they're putting the medication on, like they have the proper shelf life, this, that, and the other. So it's just a different FDA process that's much easier to push through compared to a brand new molecule that you're pushing through a FDA pipeline. So that's IntelGenX in a nutshell. So now to get into, so they've basically already started generating revenues. They're not crazy significant yet, but for a tiny company like IntelGenX, generating around $500,000 for the fourth quarter is pretty damn good. For the year, the revenue was 1.5 million. Look, it's nothing to write home about, but compared to a lot of these early stage biotech psychedelic companies and just biotech companies in general, revenues aren't even something that are on the table. So just keep that in mind. IntelGenX has a market cap of 38.81 million. So it's a tiny microcap company. Their losses for the year was 7.1 million. Okay? So 7.1 million is the loss on the year, and in terms of their cash on hand, they have 9.9 million, and then another 3 million that they got from a loan from ATAI Life Sciences. So ATAI Life Sciences owns 25% of IntelGenX. So this is one of the original things that really sparked my interest around IntelGenX, is that ATAI Life Sciences did their due diligence on this company and they decided to invest in them. So that to me is a very bullish indicator. So they own 25% of the company right now, and they have the option to own 60% of the company at some point in the future when ATAI decides they want to do that. So as in regards to their cash on hand, so it's 9.9 million plus 3 million that wasn't really accounted for. So we'll say they have about 12 million cash on hand, and their burn was about, I think, 7 million. No, net comprehensive loss was 9.8 million, so about 10 million. So they have about a year and change on their runway in terms of the amount of money they have, and then you can also minus the amount of revenues that they're making from that. They are due to keep increasing their revenues year over year now that they've gone from research and development to full blown manufacturing, but this remains to be seen. We'll see how things unfold over the course of the year. So like I've mentioned in other videos, so like this is a microcap biotech company. They're not going to have the same cash on hand as a big giant company like ATAI. So like a year and change of cash runway, in my opinion, is sufficient. Like I said, obviously we always want more as investors, but for a microcap like this, it's sufficient. They've already started generating a revenue, and from all the research I've done on them, and I've done a lot of research on IntelGenX, their revenues should be increasing quarter over quarter. And if a couple things for this year fall or happen in a timely manner, they can possibly offset their cash burn by quarter three of it could be quarter three of this year, but this is just speculation on my part. So anyway, so that's them in a nutshell. That's their financials. So now I'll give you a little bit of my blurb of why I think they're really interesting. So they're considered a psychedelic company now, but they do so much more than that. They have an Alzheimer medication that's in phase 2, and it's shown already promising results for mild to moderate Alzheimer's. So if you guys are familiar with anything in the Alzheimer's sector, if you can make it to phase 3 and the readouts and all that, just based off that alone and the market that they can break into with that medication, the stock price starts jumping off that, because these Alzheimer's medications are in very high demand, and it's a billions and billions of dollar market. So they have that they're working on. They had a deal with Tilray, or they have a deal with Tilray where they were making CBD and THC strips for them. So when Tilray and Aphria merged, Aphria's management team took over Tilray. So what that essentially ended up happening is Aphria ended up going with a company that they had an ownership stake in prior to the merger with Tilray. So essentially they ended up not following through on the contract or the deal that they had with IGXT. IGXT is now in arbitration with Tilray. What that usually means is they're either going to work out a new deal or they're going to settle and IGXT is going to come out with some money. Either way, in my opinion, it's a win for IGXT. And they have the capabilities to manufacture THC and CBD strips now. So essentially, the second they can make a deal to make THC strips, well, let's say they figure out the contract problems with Tilray, or they find a different company to make these THC strips for, they can start generating revenue from those immediately. So that's something to be noted. They also already sell CBD strips through Heritage Cannabis. Currently, they're being sold in Canada, so you can buy those right now. Another thing, so they also have in their pipeline, if you've heard of Aquestive is it's a biotech company that also does film delivery systems similar to IGXT. So they have a very symbiotic relationship in terms of they're both doing very similar things. So they'll partner for specific drugs. So they partnered to do Cialis, which is like it's an erectile dysfunction medication, and to put that on strip. So once again, with all the advantages of putting these medications on strip, having Cialis on a strip, in my opinion, is a moneymaker. And that is another thing in their pipeline that's slowly getting pushed through. And once that has FDA approval here in the States, that should create a sufficient moat for this company among the other things that they have for sale. They also do a strip that's meant for cluster migraines. So when you have cluster migraines, it's very hard, light. You're very sensitive to light. Sometimes even hard to drink water. So what they've done is they've put this migraine medication on strip so that you don't even need water. You just pop it in your mouth. It dissolves. You get relief very, very quickly. And it works. It's perfect. So these are already being sold in Spain. And they're planning on expansion to other parts of the EU, and then hopefully later on in 2023, they want to expand to the United States of America. So once again, they're already generating revenues from this, and it's just going to grow from here on out. They also have some strips in their pipeline that they're working on it's Belbuca and Suboxone. These are both for opiate abuse. So I'm not going to get into those because one of them, there is a lawsuit going on around it, and we have to get more clarity around that before I feel comfortable even mentioning whether it's going to come out this year or not, or what's going on. And Suboxone, they 100% can start selling it at the end of 2023. So Suboxone is, once again, another $1 billion market if they're making strips. So this is in due time for this company. All right, now to the psychedelics. So, and they also are planning on doing a veterinary, pet medication on strips, which I think is a great idea because if you have animals, I have 2 dogs, it could be a huge pain to get them to eat pills, even if you put the pills in food. But if you have just a strip that you plop in their mouth and it dissolves, no water, nothing, no chewing needed, it would just make it a lot easier to give medications to animals. So they're doing that too. They have partnered with a couple companies. They have yet to disclose the name of these companies, but this is stuff that they're currently working on. So this is all stuff I really appreciate as an investor. I think their business angle for biotech is really interesting. And it's unique, and especially giving you exposure to psychedelic medicine and also giving you exposure to ATAI Life Sciences. So in regard to the ATAI Life Sciences connection, so IGXT is working on, IntelGenX IGXT is working on 3 medications on strips for ATAI Life Sciences. One of them is DMT. So like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of advantages to putting DMT on a strip that skips first pass digestion. The other one is psilocybin, and the last one is salvia. So I'm not going to speak on the salvia because I don't know enough about what they're doing in regards to I don't know enough about how they're working on formulating the salvia to put on the strip. Sorry about that. To confidently talk about it. But I will say that the psilocybin and the DMT on a strip is a really interesting idea for clinical settings. And if you can make a psilocybin strip shorter and you can make the onset faster and you can manipulate it like that, I think these are some of the stuff that ATAI sees the potential within IGXT. These can be a huge advantage compared to traditional ways of taking psychedelics for therapeutic purposes. So you have those 3 things. In the most recent investor call, they basically said that ATAI has given IGXT, IntelGenX, a list of 12 different molecules to put on a strip. So what that leads me to believe, and this is all speculation on my part, is that basically ATAI is angling for IGXT to be their in-house company for basically putting all these therapeutic molecules onto these strips. This relationship between IGXT and ATAI can bring a lot of benefit to the investors, because you have this parent company that's just feeding them different medications to just put on strips. And if they can get it through the FDA process and this, that, and the other, it can lead to revenues. You know how this goes, guys. So the reason I like to mention IntelGenX is because I always speak about diversified psychedelic plays, and IntelGenX epitomizes this. So like the only knock against it is they do trade on the OTC markets. So they are on the Toronto Stock Exchange, so they do get audited and all that stuff. So I'm not worried about, and also once again, ATAI has invested in them. So you can be less worried about them being some type of scam penny stock or whatever. But it's unfortunate they trade on the OTC stocks. Not everyone's gonna have access to them. But if you do, and penny stocks are within your risk tolerance, I think it's really in your best interest to take a look at IGXT. You get basically exposure to ATAI Life Sciences, and through ATAI you're getting exposure to psychedelic molecules. You're getting exposure to Cialis on a strip, erectile dysfunction medications. You're getting exposure to the THC and CBD markets, which they're hopefully the Safe Banking Act gets passed soon, and we can hear more on that front in regards to marijuana and legalization in the USA. But a biotech company giving you exposure to THC, CBD, and migraine medications, and erectile dysfunction medication, and also psychedelics. It's really, really nice to get all that exposure from one company. And the fact of the matter is, this company has started generating revenues. They're modest right now, but the more chips that fall into place for them, the more significant the revenues are going to keep growing year over year. And also you have Big Brother ATAI, who's helping fund them, giving them loans, and who, in my opinion, is looking to own 60% of this company. So they're just a really interesting play, psychedelic play, in my opinion, or just biotech play in general. I think if you like ATAI, it would be in your best interest to take a look at this company. They're down pretty significantly with the rest of the market, which is why I feel very comfortable bringing it up. I don't think they're going to be much lower than the price they're trading at today. I think they're around 24-25 cents. And I think there's a lot of upside here. All right, yeah, so that's basically my stream of consciousness regarding IntelGenX and their relationship with ATAI, why I believe IntelGenX has a ton of upside for investors. And if you're the type of investor who wants exposure to multiple different biotech sectors, including the psychedelic sector, I think they're a great company to invest in at a very, very cheap entry price. Let's go to the charts. All right, so here we go. We got IntelGenX. So they're trading at 25 cents today. So basically, they've seen highs of around 69 cents over the course of a year, within the year. But they've fallen. 25 cents is the entry price right now. So I'll tell you this, guys. ATAI Life Sciences paid, I think, around 32 cents a share for their ownership stake in IntelGenX. You guys right now, if you bought into IntelGenX, you will be paying a cheaper price per share than ATAI Life Sciences paid. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it's a 25 cent entry right now. In my opinion, they're very oversold. With the amount of upside you have here, I think this is a really solid play, in my opinion. Listen, not financial advice. This is just something that I would do in a company that I like to follow. Diversified psychedelic play. You get access to THC. You get access to Alzheimer's. You get access to migraine medications. You get access to Cialis. And then they're also doing these pet medications. All this stuff on a strip. So yeah, this is what I wanted to mention to you guys. This is one of the more interesting companies I follow. I really like ATAI. ATAI has an ownership stake in them for 25%, like I said ad nauseum in this video already. They could end up owning 60% in the near future. I really think IntelGenX is worth a look, especially at these prices for you guys. And yeah, as far as the cash on hand and the net losses, they have a year and some change of runway, and they're already generating revenues, and hopefully by, let's say, Q3 of this year, they will be generating enough revenues to offset that cash burn enough, that they're not just blowing through their cash on hand. But once again, they are generating revenues on the year. I think it was like 1.3 million. So that's better than a lot of other biotech companies, especially microcap ones like this. So yeah, so that's IGXT. I hope you guys liked the video. Come join us on the Discord, the subreddit, or even just leave comments on this video. I'm always around to answer questions and stuff like that. So I appreciate you guys watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great weekend, and happy holidays to everyone.